Dirty.
We live.
We out here.
We out here.
Okay, so I'm gonna leave you alone. We popped it. Open it. Not
girl,
pop it, but just open
nothing.
it. And I'll go fix it.
Dirty. We live.
Oh,
we out.
I forgot. We gotta make sure that we do the echo.
Where can I see where people are?
So, nope. It's right there.
This one? Channel that. Sorry, you do that.
So you're gonna see people.
Oh, there we go.
Like around here.
Right. Over there?
Yeah, like that's right.
Oh, okay, cool.
We look so choppy.
We look super choppy. I'm glad we're recording this here. Quality, maybe?
Oh, that's what I was looking for.
Yeah, it's the bottom one. H Dizzle.
Still kind of funky.
I mean, it's better.
I don't know why it's like that.
I just untwist this thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I'm gonna put this up.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. That we can see them commenting.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Beautiful. Oh, I don't see none yet, so we here. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we try to reconnect you. Unable to connect to chat. Please try again later.
That was at the top, right?
That's what that says.
Okay.
Oh, but then you comment.
Oh, I might need to refresh it, to be honest.
You want me to hit refresh?
Sure.
On that page?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe.
All right, we're out.
Maybe it's the money, baby. Maybe not. Oh. So we got one person. What's up, Nate? How you doing?
Who is Nate? Nate,
yeah. Professor Lex Nate.
Friend, Nate.
Professor Lex Nate.
Oh, you look good.
Popping. I'm not about to pop this. Bottom.
Club,
what's up? I'm so excited. I'm super excited. What's up, Riri?
Is that can you try and pull
this
that laptop up just a little bit?
Yep.
So I can kind of see it.
Hey, y'all, we're trying to get everything situated. We're almost there. It's our first live one, so bear with us, please.
We're not doing too bad. I'm gonna leave this open just a crack. Just a crumb.
Just a crumb.
This is taping.
Okay.
Oh, now they're not gonna see me like that. I'm going over the top. I'm going over the top, baby.
But see now, like it cuts off our heads.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. So maybe back, or maybe we can lean back and pull it here.
That's fine. I'd rather. Oh, it's not right there. I'd rather them see us than
that one and this one. But we can't see the chat that way.
Yes. I know. I'm just seeing where we at.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Yoop. Hello.
Yep. On this thing.
All right, we are live. I'm gonna put this down. Y'all should be able to see us. Let's see. All that writing over there. What does that say? Hey y'all, I'm excited about this session. Can't wait to walk away with some not life-altering tips. Dang.
Life-altering.
Way to set that bar up real high.
That's what she does.
Super high. Hey Nate. Oh, happy birthday.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Happy birthday.
Carlie doesn't care, but I care.
Yes, I do.
Does it look real fuzzy to y'all on the video? Because it looks fuzzy in our video.
Like mad fuzzy.
I don't know why. Sorry. Look. Like ridiculously fuzzy.
We trying. Oh wait, click on that again. What does it say? It says yeah.
Oh, it went back?
Up again. Yeah, move it back.
Maybe it won't do H. No, when I've done this before, it's never like looked crazy.
Super fuzzy, I know. Yeah.
But we look good on the other thing, so maybe
yeah.
Timothy said, yeah, that whole fuzzy.
Thank you, man. We're trying. Now we frozen and fuzzy. Hey, we here though.
Let's see if it changed at all.
Yeah, it says HD.
Yeah, sure does. Wow, it says HD.
Man, we tried.
Yeah,
it looks like we drawn with crayons. Like them old school TVs with the big old booties in the back.
But I could put it on my phone, but then it's gonna be doing too much.
Yeah. Well, whenever we post the episode, it'll have the real video, so it'll be more clear. So sorry y'all have to deal with ancient technology apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. But we're gonna go ahead and kind of get started just so y'all can get it popping. Oh, all right, let's do a clap. We got to clap for our recording purposes.
Okay.
I had to watch you do that. Hola, guys. How are you? Welcome to Carlie's Couch. So for those of you watching this after the fact, who watched the podcast on Mondays, we are doing a live episode today.
First one ever.
So you're going to see us like looking at this laptop a little bit more than usual. And that's because we have our friends here. Shout out Nate, Cherie, Timothy Hall. We got our friends out here who are participating live. And so we're going to be talking to you guys.
What's up, Whitey?
Whitey in the building. So we're going to be talking to them too. And for you guys on the computer, we're sorry we look kind of fuzzy. I don't know.
It says like, HD, I swear.
We look like Grand Theft Auto down there. It's wild.
But like the janky version, like PS1.
Right.
Dang. We tried, I promise.
We looking like Sega Genesis down there.
Like the new Sonic?
Not like the new Sonic. We're not pervs.
Alexa's a perv.
Wow. Okay. Well, it's different now because I can't just say I'm going to cut that out. But I can for everybody else. Y'all get to hear it. Anyway, we got some champagne just to celebrate our first. Do you want me to do it?
Yes, Lord.
I hope it doesn't act crazy because. Woo! Oh, shit. Look, you can tell I ain't done nothing before. Shout out John Holland. We did this for you.
He said
with the shine down.
No, he didn't.
Help us, Timothy. What do we need to do?
How do we make it better? Because it says HD. It says it's on 720 HD.
Yeah, I never, when I've done it before, I never looked this crazy.
It's mad raggedy. And it's a new laptop, so it's not even like an old Mac.
And notice, too, they're a little bit more behind us, so sometimes it'll take a second.
Well, we're here.
Or,
this looks so much better.
Yeah, it does. I could stop it and start it again, but I don't know if it'll change the link. So I don't want to mess with it.
Bro.
I don't want to mess with it.
We're going to have to roll with it.
I don't think I need to do that.
I don't know what this is doing.
I'm just playing around with the Google Hangout.
Okay. Oh, I will click on that real quick. Retrograde. You right?
That's what it is?
You right. That's like literally technical malfunctions, like all of those things.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. Like if you like miscommunication, losing things, technology starts acting crazy.
Yeah, because we're doing so much, like this doesn't even want to like save.
Thank you for bearing with us. We got 9 people. Shout out to whoever hasn't said hey yet.
It's cool, y'all watch from the sidelines. Cause you gotta
have a YouTube account. Or is that what you were saying?
Yeah, you have to have a YouTube account and be signed into your YouTube.
Okay. That makes sense.
For it to pick up your name and let you chat and stuff. So hopefully y'all let you chat. I'm super upset about this being fuzzy, but it's all good. We're gonna have to rock anyway. Lo siento. You can watch it again on Monday. Carlie, here's some champagne for you.
Oh, thank you.
Take the edge off.
Oh, what's up, Dale? How you doing? Delanisha.
It's so the type is so small I can't really even see.
Y'all
signed in with y'all real like names.
Names.
With y'all names.
I mean, my Twitter is definitely my first and last. I'm just saying. And I'm telling you, like nothing's locked or unprotected. Praise the Lord for being an entrepreneur.
I mean, that ain't stopping a lot of folks on here. You just talking about whatever. It's some more over here if you need it.
I'm about to say
I got all this head.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh, here you go being nasty.
I didn't say anything. That's you. Oh, she working on her porn skills. She tried out to be a bottle girl but failed.
Yeah, I ain't tried for that one. I don't got time.
Okay. So getting started with the episode now. Well, cheers first to our live episode. Cheers to you for joining us.
Buenas tardes, or good evening, or good morning, wherever y'all at. Today we are talking about goal setting, and this is something I know personally that the more I learn about it, the more I am adapting how I think about my goals and how I try to work towards manifesting them, all of that. Oh, look at Nana Earl.
What's up, Nana?
It said ain't no chat on the mobile. Now I know. So you got to get on the laptop. So Keisha, damn, sorry I said your whole name like you didn't have N Lakeisha. But Keisha, tell us why our camera is fuzzy for Google Hangout and help us.
Thank you. Tell us how to fix it. Hey, thanks.
You.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the episode. So we're talking about goal setting today. Everybody in the chat, how many of you guys feel like at some point you have set goals And I want you to just do a little emoji, do whatever. If you've ever set goals, there's literally some people who have not. And so I don't want you to feel bad if you haven't. There's a lot of people who, we kind of cruise through and we like, okay, we know what we want. We know what we want to accomplish. And yet we've never really sat down, never really like put some numbers to it and all of that. So that's the type of stuff that we want to talk about today. So, Carlie.
There goes some emojis.
Oh, yeah, I see y'all. We're just going to keep calling y'all out as we go. So, Carlie, what's the importance of goals? Like, why do we actually need to set them?
Because how can you get to where you want to be if you don't know where you're going? And I think that is the most basic level for me is if you don't set goals, you literally don't know where you're going. And it doesn't have to be so specific like when you're driving in the car and you put in the exact address. But you at least got to know the city that you're going to. You at least have to know the general area. And so for me, that's a great way to focus. And then I can be intentional about my actions and how I approach it. If I'm like, man, I just want to be successful, but I don't know what that looks like, then how am I ever going to get there?
Do you feel like a broad goal is better than no goal?
I do feel like a broad goal is
like anything is better than nothing in that case?
A broad goal specifically is better than no goal. I think having any type of goal is better than no goal because then it's kind of energy that just goes anywhere.
Keisha said that's above me with the fuzziness. It's cool.
We try.
Maybe next time. So when I was asked maybe a few years ago, kind of, oh, what's your goals? And y'all know how everybody, like at any happy hour you ever go to or any networking event, always is like, so where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or you get that question in like a million different circumstances. Anytime I got that, I'm like little Uzi Vert, like, I just got here. I don't know. That's how I be every time. Like, man, I don't know. Sometimes I just don't want to talk about it. Like, I want to be this picture. You know what I mean? It's like I don't want to talk to people when they're like asking me about my whole life, and it's like I just met you at this networking event. But a lot of times we really don't know what those full goals are. And so I remember being put on the spot at one point where somebody was asking me about my goals, and it happened so often. I was like, all right, because I'm really sitting here like, well, want to be successful, or you're thinking about money or something with work, but it's not very specific, right? And so that's really the reason why we had you guys do that first exercise to just test yourself, right? Like, what's your goals? Think about them and put them down. For some of you guys, I don't know if that was hard for y'all or not. And feel free to like write in the side as we go with your answers. But for me, it's gotten a lot easier if I just actually define them. And then from there, I know how to answer that question with other people. How easy is it for you if somebody asks you your goals to answer that?
It's easy for me to answer broad, like broad things. Yeah. Like it's so much easier for me to do big picture. That's also just how I think. So I like to think big picture, all of these things. But I agree with Cherie, that it really is still difficult to articulate them. And then also to myself, because for me, it's like, man, I have so many. Like sometimes it's like, oh, which one goes first? Which one should I say? Which one should I focus on? So I feel like sometimes
how many goals should you define?
Yeah, like how many goals? Because I have all the goals. Like I'm trying to do everything all the time. And so sometimes it's hard for me to not get caught up in that.
Okay, Carlie. So with goal setting, what have been your habits up to now as far as what you do with knowing your goals?
You said, sorry, repeat one more time. I was reading some comments.
I was asking what has been your process for what you do with what are you doing now that you know your goals, or what are you doing with them?
Okay, so my mature and grown up process, since I'm like learning how to be a better planner and all of these things, like I write down the broad goals and then I kind of break them up into steps. And so similar to what Nanera was talking about is like looking at like long-term versus short-term. So I look at my long-term goals and then kind of think of short-term steps to get there. Or I look at my short-term goals and then kind of break them up into smaller pieces to get there. Like, okay, if I want to be successful, what does that look like? Okay, well, I want my company to make this amount of money. Well, how do I get there? I need 10 clients. Well, how do I get clients? And you kind of just back into it from there. Also, what's up, Bleezy? What's up, Toe?
But that's like just every once in a while thing, or what? Like, I mean, what are you doing with them once you've said, these are my goals?
Oh, well, when I break it up into steps and then I put them on a list and then I talk to you, I talk to other people I have in my life to help hold me accountable to make sure that I get them done. Like each week I have a focus of getting steps towards my goals each week.
Okay.
What about you?
For me, I don't do anything anymore. I used to, for 2 years, 2.5 years maybe, I used to write my goals out every day. So I made a concerted effort to really define what those goals were. And I looked at that list and then I wrote it out every day in the morning. And over time, actually, that actually helped me to change some as I went along as well. And it helped me to kind of set an intention for the day. Like, if these are
Mhm.
my goals, now what are those steps I'm doing every day? Or like, why am I doing what I'm doing to help me get to those? So every day I would write them out. And so that's why even still to this day, there's some people who will mention that about from my Instagram or
Mhm.
Snapchat that they remember. At halftime, they don't even remember what I was writing. They're like, I don't know what you was writing, but I remember you used to be writing every day. Um, Hey, Flash.
What's up, Clash?
But yeah, I was writing them out, and then I stopped doing that. And
Can I ask you why you stopped?
yeah, so I stopped writing them every day because I tend to need a new routine every once in a while. Like, if
Mhm.
it gets too automatic to me and I'm not really focused in it, and I guess of course I could like remeditate on them or try to make sure I was focused when I
Mhm.
was doing it. But I felt like, okay, wait a minute. I think I need to do a whole rehaul of these. And or I kind of got to a point where I felt like I was planning too much,
Mhm.
just overall. And so I wanted to take some time to just, I don't want to say like freestyle it, but like I want to take some time to not be thinking so hard about what's the end goal, but just to focus on like what am I doing every day.
Mhm.
Still kind of having those things in mind. Like I could still like tell you what some of those were, but it just was my way of like implanting it in my brain. And now I think I need to redo it. So even with this episode, I'm going to be trying to think personally about my goals in different spaces and how they might
Mhm.
have changed, what they are right now. And so maybe I should like maybe start doing that again and just kind of refresh it again. I just felt like it got stale to me. And then I was like, wait, I don't know. Some of these I was like, I don't know if I really even want that anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's important. First of all, I hate monotony
Hmm.
in general. Um, let's see, Timothy talking about me and my friends do gratitude and intention for every day, and that helps you keep on track. Yeah, I think that that's really important to start your day with gratitude always, but also to have intention so that your time just doesn't slip away.
Hmm.
But it's also important, to Alexa's point, to recheck in with your goals, like to look at your intentions, like, well, why do I even want this? Or why is this something that's a goal to me or important? It's important to check in and figure that out because it's our mindset on what our goals are.
Hmm. Um, Another question that we had, you guys, those of you who did the challenge, one of the questions also asked you about what influenced you to think the way that you think. Um, a lot of times we come from a space of scarcity, and
Mm,
I can only really speak for myself for real, but
and me.
judging by y'all Twitter conversations, we come from a place of scarcity a lot of times to where when you're not used to having your needs met or when you're not used to getting what you want, you kind of stop asking for it. And you kind
Hmm.
of stop, like at Christmas time, you're not asking your mom for a million things because you already know what time it is. Like,
Hmm.
um, Jay Orr in the building. Bah, 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 bah. Back to my actual thought. So, coming from a place of scarcity, I think that we tend to aim low sometimes.
Hmm.
And I think that we are limiting ourselves a little bit
Always.
with creating goals. And so that's why we wanted to ask you guys about your influences to them. Or you've had somebody in your family or somebody you know who say you can't do something or you shouldn't try to do something, whatever it is, right? Like those things influence us. And so it's important for you to A, really know yourself, and B, really try to understand like inside of you, like what is that thing or what are those things that are important to you, that are valuable to you, without kind of bringing all of that extra in. Whitey said the scarcity thing is real. Yep. Like I'm kind of working through that right now.
Right. And it's been really big for me too. And trying to also think through, like, why do I feel like I have to have these things done right now?
Yeah.
Because society tells me I need to have these things, or because I actually want these things,
Hmm.
or because I want to prove somebody wrong and do these things. Like, you really have to be real with yourself. And then also, like, why am I not dreaming bigger? Like, why am I settling for whatever it is?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I'm with you, Ree. Like, definitely, like, working through that trauma, that generational trauma of some of those fears that I learned growing up,
Hmm.
like these learned behaviors that limit our mindset and make us think we can't do those things. Like, before I came to business school, I was very much stuck in that mindset of like having a job and doing all these things, even though I knew I wasn't happy. So all my
say, what's
goals
wrong
were
with having a
around that.
job? But
Well,
you mean
for
like
me,
that specific
that
field?
specific field, that specific job, what I was doing, and I wasn't like living in my truth.
Yeah.
And then I just want to shout out y'all, Be Mary Jane and all the post-its. That is how I live my life there, everywhere. And so Dale told like all y'all, I love, post-its are everywhere at my house.
And then in my personal experience too, I was and am very blessed to have grown up, I think, with my parents always telling me I could do anything and all of that, so I feel like I never really felt limited by what they said or did, because quite frankly, I'm 34 years old now, and it wasn't until maybe a few years ago I'm like, hold on, we was kind of poor. Like I just now like calculating everything. Like I remember times they're like, oh, we can't really go out to eat for a while and stuff like that. But at the time, we were always eating and everything was straight. You know what I mean? So you don't really think about it until later. Those things are like crushing up like the aluminum cans to take to the place and stuff. Like that was fun. It was like a game for us to crush the cans. But now I'm like, hold on, we needed that change. So, and I say that, right. So like Cherie saying, that she's still healing from that too. And your family members, sometimes they can place those fears on you. And sometimes it's just a matter of like, that's just your environment. So even like with my parents, they never like actively try to be like, you'll never be anything or don't have goals. But you do grow up knowing or feeling like, hey, we can't have everything. So
yeah. Or also, I mean, growing up and feeling the need to take care of them, or having goals that are very centered around helping your family succeed and paying their bills and doing things for them that they can't do for themselves, because you've kind of taken that on yourself. And it's just, I mean, it affects how we grow up.
Yeah, Keisha said similarly. She said, I feel like I never felt limited, but I never learned how to structure correctly and create boundaries. That's important too. And maybe that's kind of where I fall a little bit as well, is like, all right, you can want all these things and we can tweet every morning, like out here getting it and whatever else. But like, all right, what are we really going to do and how are we really structuring that?
Exactly. What about the follow through? Like that's what she said. She said, I can set goals all day, like deciding on them, but actually, how do we follow through?
Exactly. So back to mindset though, just to wrap that out, Carlie, what to you is the difference between having a realistic goal and a goal that's too low and a goal that's too unrealistic? Like, what does that look like, that spectrum?
See, I err on the side of altruistic, and I don't like the word realistic, because it's like, where does that even come from and who is that there for? But if I get down to the bottom of my goals and I question like why I want them and connect to the why, then it's a lot easier for me to figure out where they fall in the spectrum for me. So when you're talking about,
but what I'm asking though is, when you're coming up with what those goals should be, how do you judge like how you know what I mean, on the spectrum, like something you can probably get done versus something like, let's say, putting down, all right, making $1 million by next year versus, okay, what's the benefit of saying, or the opposite of, okay, 100,000? Like, what does that look like as far as realistic and thinking realistically and low and high?
I don't, then that's the thing, is I don't think that there's a realistic, I actually don't really like the SMART goals format. I agree with some of it, but not all of it, because it's like, what's realistic? So if I want to make $1 million by next year, then I'll break down how that looks like in bite-sized pieces to get me there.
Okay.
What about you? Because it sounds like you have a more defined.
Well, it's not that I define it, but by societal standards, like that's not realistic. You know what I mean? So in that term, and I don't say that to say don't do that. I'm saying don't set goals because you think they're realistic. That's what I would say.
100%.
Don't set goals because you think, okay, this is something I could do.
Because then you're settling.
I mean, you're still reaching towards something. I think the bigger issue is that you are, if you're setting your standard right here instead of up here, okay, you could get to that. But even if you set it way higher, what if you even if you didn't make it, you still get even further, right?
That's what I was thinking.
Than like just what you put as something that you think may be super realistic.
It's not for aiming too high. Like whatever that quote is that I'm gonna mess up, is it's not about aiming too high. It's about aiming too low and actually making it. Like even if you shoot for the moon, you'll miss and land among the stars. The Les Brown quote that I just butchered. But aim high. Like why not?
However, I think it still is not the best idea to make them so high that you're not getting anywhere close to that either. I think there is still a limit to that.
And that's fine. But you have those goals, but then breaking them down into bite-sized pieces. So like, let's say it's $1 million, and by this time next year, I'm like, okay, well, more, I'm probably around like half of that because I've put in goals to help me get there. Like I'm still shooting higher and stretching myself because anytime I think you set goals that are very easily met, like you're not getting out of your comfort zone and you're kind of wasting your time.
Mm-hmm. Archie said, does anyone struggle with reevaluating their goals if you miss the high target? And what I would say to that is, and part of the reason why I would say, like, I would never put a goal to have, making 5 million by next year, unless I knew like what was getting implemented to make that make more sense. But I wouldn't set a goal like that because I don't think it's necessarily a struggle missing it, but a goal like that means like next month you need to be at a certain place, right? Like breaking it down needs to be something you can do. Otherwise, it's really like you're just saying something just to say it. Like, 100%. But if you miss that high target though, Archie, I feel like that's fine as long as you're moving, right? I'm a big proponent of as long as I'm making forward steps and as long as I'm moving forward, everything's good on like a day by day basis. This time next year, I might not have that 5 million, but I have put together a plan that has me moving a lot faster or a lot closer to that, if that makes sense.
That structure and boundaries, like being intentional every day to get towards these goals, like taking action every day.
So then if we're talking about like day to day, let's talk about kind of like where we are now, I guess, with life, because in coming up with your goals, you do have to know, I think, and then please insert if you disagree or if you think differently. What I like to think about is where I am now and also for the future with those things I want, what does it take to actually get them? Like those are things that I kind of like calculate, like literally, like let's talk about money goals. We all should have some kind of money goals. So if I don't know what's going on with me right now, which I don't, which is why my financial advisor be cussing me out every time we meet. And that's why I had to get a guy to help me with my finances just because I was like super avoiding everything. Like I don't even look at my shit. I just be like, swipe, don't swipe. I know it's probably low, so I'm not gonna swipe. Like that's how I live. But for me, it was like, all right, if you don't know like what's the numbers coming in or what's the numbers going out, like that's basic stuff you should know right now. Just like I should know for the future, okay, if I want that a certain house, how much do houses cost? You know what I mean? Like, what does that even look like? How much should I be making? And so you need to even like break that stuff down based on what you're trying to do, so you know where you are now and where you should be getting.
Cherie has a really good question that fits like right into that. So how do you decide if a goal is too high versus allowing your fears to interfere and tell you it's too high? So like if you're thinking about like, how do you know if it's an actual like unrealistic goal or something that your fears or something like your limited mindset might be, your scarcity might be keeping you from dreaming a little bit bigger?
I think you know what makes sense. So like I could say, sure, let's do 1 million next year and work towards that. But like, you know, the difference between 1 million and 10 million, like, I don't know. I feel like that's something you kind of have to decide for yourself, but you have to also, you kind of base it on where you are and like actually having a plan. So if you have zero plan, then it might not make sense to go crazy high. But if you have something that you're working towards, or you're trying to figure out a plan towards, or like there's some residual thing within your business or something that you're getting off the ground, like, okay, if I'm getting this done, I know I just need X amount of sales and that'll bring in, 20K a month or, whatever it is, right? Like it's different if you know you're starting from nothing and you're like, all right, this time next year I want to have this. And it's like, no, your salary at your job is going to be the same salary. Like, so I think you have to kind of decide that for yourself, but you have to decide not to be moving in fear, regardless of what number you put down.
And I think it should be something that stretches you. Like I like Jermaine's point, like you research what
like
the standards
keep it realistic
are for your field,
in that case,
and knowing all of those bits and pieces. But also, I think stretching yourself, like if you
stretch it a little further,
than what your first thing is. But if there is no plan and you're like 10 mil every month, and it's like, okay, I'm not telling you that's not possible, but it's like there is a plan and movement towards that. So I would challenge you to dream a little bit bigger than you're comfortable with, while having the foundation of the knowledge of what it is you're moving towards.
That's why I kind of like with 10X rule, because I'd be like, all right, I want to make I want to be pulling at least 10K a month, but then like whatever you're thinking, like you could totally like multiply that and figure out a way that you can incorporate in your day-to-day or in your systems, a way to maximize like what you're already doing. One thing I like from that Keisha said too
Mm-hmm.
is if you think smaller, or if the smaller steps don't make sense, then the goal may have to be evaluated. But if you can actually take the steps that you should go for it even when it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I was saying. Like it depends on how much of a foundation you have or like where you are with that. Um, how do you prioritize your goals and make sure you're working on the ones that bring both joy and stability? I think all of your goals should be in that vein. And I think that goes back to your why and your mindset around the goals and where you are now. Um, so right now, if we're going, sorry, back to where we are currently,
Mm-hmm.
Carlie, like, how do you feel about your life currently? Knowing what your goals kind of are, like, you don't have to talk about what they are specifically, but knowing what your goals are, how do you feel about where you are in those spaces right now?
I feel good. And it's not because I have all the traction that I want. It's not because I'm doing the numbers that I want, but it's because I'm taking intentional action every single day towards those things. Like I know that every day I'm working towards my goals and I'm actually like taking action. And so I feel good about it. Like wherever things fall, like I know that I'm working every day, so I feel good.
Okay.
What about you?
Total opposite. Where are you not currently satisfied with life? Absolutely not. Because I've been super struggling with certain things that I have goals towards. And so I'm not content with that. Or I can be like content in life, like not that I want to be out of here, but every day I can still
We
like
talked about that.
wake up and, work and do stuff. But no, I don't feel satisfied with where I am, which is why it's easier for me to focus on, okay, what goals do I need to put in place and what should I be doing that I'm not doing? Especially if you feel like you're in a place where you're running hamster wheels. Like I've dealt with that, and my financial advisor talked with me about that a lot too. Is like, all right, understanding where you are on this hamster wheel and why, to be able to move things forward more. Because sometimes it seems like we're so busy and moving so much and doing so much work.
Yeah.
But like, what's really different than the last few months and this month? Not that things change overnight either, but I have very much noticed that when I have a goal and I make a plan, I make a plan and then I really stick to it real hard. Like a few days, immediately things like pop off and work. I tend to just usually get exhausted with doing that much, but I know that it works. And so for me, where I am right now is like I'm cool, but I'm not satisfied with those areas or with a lot of those areas, which is why I have a goal in it.
Yeah, and
otherwise there's some things that my goals I've crossed off or I've changed because I don't need that anymore. Or I have it, so it's not a goal.
And that makes sense. I can see that. I'm not anywhere near my goals, to be clear. But to Felicia's point about both joy and stability, and then also I think Archie was talking, or no, Timothy was talking about like work and like health, work-life balance, have a healthy work-life balance. Like I think that's why I feel okay about it, even though I'm not anywhere near where I want to be.
Why?
Because my goals and the things that I'm doing bring me joy and help inspire me and encourage me every day, even though things aren't looking the way that I want them to. Like my bank account is not looking like I want it to. Like any situation in my life right now is not stable like I want it to, but I know that I'm doing everything I can and that it's going to work out. It's going to start popping, but ain't nothing popping really right now.
I guess. But also to, who was it who mentioned about the work life?
Timothy.
So to Timothy and to Goddess, I'm going to just use the name you have on here because I don't want to call you out too much.
Fifi.
Okay. And to her talk about the joy and stability. You guys talking about work life. I think that a lot of times make sure I say this right before y'all cuss me out. I think a lot of times we also romanticize the idea that, oh man, we should be so happy in, what we're doing now, because quite frankly, like a lot of times I really just need to be doing more shit and I need put joy in this, so I'm going to take a self-care day and not do anything. Like, nah, like we actually kind of need to work harder a lot of times. And so for me, I'm not looking to be like, oh, there's no joy in this, or where's the joy and the work? What I'm looking to do is I'm always paying attention to what I don't like, finding ways to replace that, and always paying attention to what I like. And so I'm constantly weaving like this pattern that's changing slowly over time, because I do enjoy most of the stuff that I'm doing throughout the day. So this isn't like necessarily a complaint like that. But when you think about work-life balance, I think that it's one of those things where it's like, all right, what things do we actually need to be doing to get shit done and move ahead? And also paying attention to what things you really don't like, really do like. And trying to fit that in there. But when I'm making my goals, I don't necessarily have a goal that's like, I don't know, something like happy, happy, joy, joy is the goal, because I don't know, that is kind of like part of it as I go. Like it's part of the journey as I go, honestly.
No, and that makes sense. So what would you change? Like, what would you like to change?
About what?
About like where you are? Yeah, well, that's
where you want to start.
How long y'all got?
Right. Where do I want to change about my life? Oh, I would definitely love to have more disposable income, and that'll probably change everything. But I'm not trying to speak to it like so you should not have a mindset, I don't think, of when this happens, then I'll be good or then I'll be happy.
That's perpetual.
At the same time, yeah, if I'm making like $100 a month, like, yeah, I'll be better when I have, you know what I mean, more. So like, let's be real about that. So we ain't not millionaires up here talking about like,
not yet.
You know, money isn't the root of all happiness. Like, nah, bro. Like, money makes happiness a lot easier. And so for me, I know I feel in a way better mood when I actually have some extra bread versus when I don't. So for me, that's always the biggest thing is around that. Like, I have people around me that love me, care for me. There's a lot of material things that I may want or that would make my life easier, but I don't have no crazy like list of stuff, you know, as far as like goals when it comes to like things. Like, it's not like it's all things. It's a lot of it is stuff like milestones for work or money. My own family goals, how I treat people. I had goals around treating people a certain way or bringing positive energy towards certain situations, things like that. And so again, those things I want to change are things that I notice now. I'm like, they kind of make me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so that's usually where my goals are around.
So you have different goals from different areas in your life, like health and finances, mindset.
Yes. I have health goals. I had
abs,
goals.
Check.
Yeah. My abs goal did get a little checky check on that, you know. Look, I'm about to be like, on the screen, but I'm not gonna do that because it's digital, all fuzzy anyway. Y'all not gonna y'all gotta wait till Monday.
I'm just saying.
It ain't a dress, it's a shirt.
Oh,
I'm just a pickle because I have a green shirt on and a green skirt. That's all. That's all.
Pickle Rick in this thing.
Right. A pickle Rick. What's the question? Damn. Oh, the categories. Yeah, I have health goals. I have goals around love and relationships with family and other. I had goals, of course, for work and finances. But one thing is to make sure that when you think goals, you're not just thinking work. You're not just thinking money. Like, it is other things. And for me, a lot of it was around my own being more available, being more intimate. Like, a lot of those types of things that I was working on in that area. Do you have goals in those different areas?
Oh, for sure. Those are the goals I get more excited about than my other ones. But I try to be very intentional every day. Like, I can't even remember who said it, but about like writing things down and being intentional. Like, at the beginning of the day, I'm like, okay, I want to be kinder to myself or kinder to others or listen better. All of these things. But I really love what Tayshelle said. First of all, what's up, Tayshelle? It's talking about digging into the intention or motivation for achieving a goal. She said it helps her to discern what's realistic versus what's being potentially limited by fear, which I really love. But also making sure I'm very intentional even when I'm setting goals for things in my life. And whether it's health, whether it's relationships, whether it's these things, like we talked about mindset, I try to get to the mindset of every goal that I have, like questioning, like, why is this important? Why does this matter? And Archie asked if I journal about progress every day. Well, ideally every day, probably like every other day in real life.
So every day or not every day?
Damn!
I'm just saying, you can't be telling people what you do every day. If you don't do it every day. Let's keep it real with the people.
It's just funny. She said literally every other day. It's actually every other day, probably, ideally.
I put every day for looking like Pickle Rick.
I know you did.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say I wasn't answering for you. I just don't want you to think I was answering for you.
I know. You can't speak for me. Sorry, I was like, it's harder. It is harder to Nana said it's harder to structure emotional goals. I think it is, and for me, probably relationship goals are hard for me to structure.
What's a relationship goal? Because if you say by this age, I'm gonna
I'm
gonna be like,
No, it's like I want to be like my best self, not just for me, but also for my partner. Like be working on unconditional love.
I think those are the ones that are more of and setting an intention. Like when I write every day, those are the easiest ones to like really do because it's a mindset thing. Like it ain't about anything else or efforts really besides your own. And so I think Earl, Lakeisha, damn, I'll just put your whole thing out, whatever.
Oh, government. You got her social security number too?
242. No, I think that, I don't know. Damn, I gotta stop doing that.
And
I gotta stop trying to talk to y'all.
Tangerine.
That's real. Looking like Candy Crush over here.
We really are.
What I was gonna say, you're right. What I was gonna say is that for me to write those every day was just a reminder. So now I'm like more self-aware of it. Like I'm just more aware of it. Like if I'm saying, all right, I'm going to approach this person. I'm not gonna reach out to this person if I'm coming from a low energy or negative space, unless I'm like going on or something. Then I would feel that. So if I felt like I just wanted some validation or something or the other, then I would catch that because I know to catch that. So I think it's easier. Oh shoot! Thank you, Earl, for letting us know we clear. Finally. But I know y'all was fed up. We was looking so fuzzy on this thing.
I told y'all we weren't that fuzzy in real life.
If anybody wants to put some on my Spectrum internet account, Cash App Alexia Quincy. Thank you. I need to upgrade.
I don't have Spectrum.
It don't matter because we at my house.
Cash App
It's my internet right now.
Anyway,
always trying to get some extra off what I'm doing.
So whenever you write your goals, did you do all of your goals? So like your personal, your
every
money,
single one.
every single goal.
And I have my notebook. If I don't feel like coming on this bed. I should have had it with me, guys. Sorry.
How did you?
But every single one, and it was a whole page.
I was about to ask how many goals did you have?
It was a full page, and then sometimes I had to write it smaller because I had extra. But like I said, you know what I like most about writing my goals out every day was not. At first, I was afraid to, but realizing that I needed to change some things, like saying like I wanted this thing. Sometimes, honestly, I would write it, and it wouldn't even feel right writing it, and I was like, this ain't quite it. But it helped me get to what it should have been, like the work goal or whatever. Like I may have been thinking this was what I wanted to do more of, but then it kind of changed, or it allowed me to. Oh man, it went back. But it allowed me to, I guess, really just be moldable and pivot as I go. Some things I totally took out, and some things I changed the number on it, or like by when I wanted to do it or whatever, because priorities did change. So I think that's okay.
So we talked about goals. We talked about issues we have around them, like thinking through them, our mindset behind them. So actually, let's get into how we set goals. And I think the first step for me is tagging on to what Tayshawn said, but also thinking, look at these skills. Well, y'all see it late, but thinking about why I have which goals that I have and getting rooted into my values. Like, why is this something? Like said, she was writing out things that she was writing down things that didn't even feel right. And you have to keep pivoting and keep figuring out and whittling down to what really matters to you. Because we only have so many hours in a day. So it's like, how are you going to spend them? So I think the first thing is thinking about like,
I don't think it was because of that though, because all of my goals were like, some were shorter term, some were very long term. And it wasn't about like, can I get it done or how much time do I have to work on them? But do I even want that?
I wasn't talking about that. I was saying we only have so many hours in a day. And so why would spend energy on something you don't even want?
Oh, okay.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Yeah. So thinking about
if I didn't want it, I wouldn't. I was like, I'm not even write this down anymore.
But it's like we have to be real and take a look at ourselves and be like, why is this a goal that I think I need to have, or why I'm doing? And then that's how you get down to whether it should be on your list or not, or something you expend energy on.
And the importance also of knowing your why is also not about making the goals, but that's literally the only thing that helps you stick to your goals. Your why isn't strong enough, then it's easy to be like, yeah, I don't know about that. Never mind on that. Like, I'm not really gonna do that anymore, or to stop or quit. If your why is so deep rooted that you couldn't sleep good if you knew you were abandoning like this bigger reason or purpose behind it. Like part of mine was with my parents and like wanting to remodel their home or give back to them, like all the things they've done for me. Like that's a big part of my why. And so, man, when I go home and like see like the wallpaper starting to crack or whatever, and I feel bad because I'm like, man, I can't do nothing to help y'all right now. But that helps me to move through when I'm getting to a rough patch or whatever. It's not even me. Like, I don't even care about me. I can eat slice of bread a day and be like, all right, I'm gonna make it through. But other things like that. So whatever that big why is, you need to develop. So you have something that's deeply rooted enough to where there's no way you'd abandon that.
Even when things get tough, because things get tough, life gets hard. We have struggle days, and if it's not something to keep you pushing through there, like even if you're not seeing the traction or the success so far that you want, like something that keeps you striving for that next thing.
Yep, and like Nate said, knowing your why keeps you focused on the end game, and that's real. So like that's what you're working towards, and sometimes that why can even kind of change a little bit, which is fine as well. Another thing that I already alluded to earlier, I got ahead of myself, was when you're making your goals, it's important, or it's at least very, very helpful, to understand how much the life you want actually costs. And I remember seeing that or reading that somewhere maybe a few years ago. And for some reason, I'm like, why did I never think about that? And even at that point, I was like, I don't even know what I really want. And so I spent like a week where I was on Zillow. I was looking at houses around here to be like, how much does a house here even cost? Like, what is it? What's even going on? How much does a car that I'm looking at, like cars I'm looking at, how much would those be? My dream car, and then looking at like, okay, what's my normal, like my Toyota or whatever, what I mean? Like, what are these things costing? Even with living, I looked at, what's a 5-bedroom home around here in a place that I would like. And then what's like a nice 2-bedroom apartment? Like, what does that even look like at all? So I can even use those stepping stones of apartment, house, whatever, in my goals too, to know, okay, I want to be making around X amount, or I want to be bringing in this or that, because I know I want to live a life that costs this much money. Has anybody in here, and put in the chat if you have, has anybody ever thought to do that? Like actually look at how much stuff costs when we're talking about material things or home or whatever, to really allow that to shape your money goals. Like that makes a lot of sense, but I don't think it's something like we really do like that.
It's not innate. That's not something that like.
And I was surprised. I was like, oh, like
things cost a lot more than we think they do.
When I'm like, oh, I'm sitting out here talking about, like, yeah, my goal is get this. What was it? It was one of the Maseratis. It was like my goal is to get this Maserati. I want the XJ Jaguar, and then I was looking at this. The houses were obviously like 2.5 for like a regular house here. But I was looking at the stuff, and I was like that Nigerian boy. He's not a boy. He's a grown man. The Nigerian actor, he's in the GIF, like I was looking just like that. Like, oh, hold up, I need to be making about 200,000 a month,
like more than I'm
right. And I was like, so let me scale that back. So then that's why I was like, all right, what's a nice loft or apartment or like whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So that made a big difference, because I'm like, I could be sitting here saying like, yeah, I want this car and this house for a million years, but it's like, what am I really working towards? So my goals aren't even really get this car. My goals are X amount in revenue, or residual, or stuff like that, right? So that it makes sense.
What's interesting is I love that, and actually thinking through how much stuff costs. But hold on, Nina replied. She said, "Yeah, I think the only reason is I was determined to get out of my situation, but I never did it for long-term goals." Yes, I need to do that also. I kind of
we do that for short-term because you have to, right? Like you have to move, you have to do something. You're like, how much is that deposit in first month?
Check.
And so you do all that, and you know what you need to get. Now for bigger term things, like how much do you need to be getting, and use that as your benchmark month to month now, or what you're growing towards.
Goals. Yeah, to help you set your goals. For me, I was looking at like my ROI, like what's my opportunity cost, like to get the life that I want, like what does that cost, what does that look like to make these numbers, to work this hard, to sacrifice these things, to be where I want to be in the future. And actually thinking about that too, because if your why is not strong enough, if your like heart isn't really in why you're doing the things that you're doing, like you're not going to get there, or at least not in the time frame that you want to get there.
Or I think also sometimes when you have a plan, it's easier to, plan or no plan, you can still take it day by day, but having the plan, for me, it gives me the steps to do over and over, and then I can see if it's working or not working, I guess. You mentioned earlier that you don't agree with all the SMART, SMART, for setting goals. So from those, what things do you think make sense?
I think they should have timelines.
Yeah, your goals should have timelines.
They should have timelines. They should have some type of numbers. Like you have to be clear. You can't just say, I want to make more money. Wonderful. Yeah. What does more money look like?
So that's so funny, because that's a goal, right? When you ask somebody what they're trying to do, like, yeah, I'm trying to make more. And then there's so many questions you ask for that is, how much do you want to make? where are you now? By what time do you want to make it? Why do you want to make more money? Because especially the why is important for money, because you are not just say I want to make money is never gonna be enough. Like what do you want the money for? Like that's really where you have to have that kind of like a breakdown or why or really understand like what for. But like there's so many extra questions to that. So it's like why not answer those yourself?
Yeah.
So you get an idea.
I like that they're measurable. I like
Mhm.
actionable because if I want to be successful.
Oh yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Does that mean?
What does that mean? What does that look like? And I think a lot of people avoid that. And I'm only talking about myself for a long time because I didn't really want to take the time to look internally and see what success means to me, to define that and to figure out what that is. And I think a lot of times we get caught up with that in goals. So measurable, actionable. I don't like the realistic. I think that's probably my real issue because it's like, who's telling me what's realistic? Because if we go on by that, I wouldn't be here. So I'm just saying.
But is that also limited thinking of what's realistic or not? Because what you did is realistic.
I mean, but I'm saying statistically. So who is setting what's realistic? That's what I don't like. Like because, like I said, if we were looking at statistics, I wouldn't be able to be here. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have went to grad school. I wouldn't have graduated from undergrad. Like if we're looking at statistics for different things, like that's why I don't like realistic. But I also just don't like people putting me in a box. And so probably that's a self thing.
Okay. Yeah, because I guess when I see that the realistic and smart, when it's making smart goals, I'm my own judge of that. So and I'm not ever looking at anybody as outside stats like only 1% of people do this. Like, oh, okay, cool. Like only a certain percent of people have a business past like 4 years, but like year 6, year 7, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like for me, that's not it's still based on me. And I know a lot of that stuff based on my environment or what I know or where I've come from or my own toolkit. Like I know it's realistic for me and that hey, if I was cruising where I'm at now, you know what I mean? Like if that makes sense.
So it's like setting
like
it yourself.
If you're on your same path, yeah. But I understand what you're saying with that. And when to the making smart, I think the one I have the most difficulty with is the timeline one. I have a tendency to underestimate how much time stuff takes.
I do too.
I have hella ideas, a hella stuff I'm trying to do, and like as my biz dev girl, like, bruh, the stuff on my list that was supposed to be done like months ago. I'm like, yeah, okay, so it should take a month to do this, and I can even plan week by week. But then the week goes by and I don't finish it. You know what I mean? Like, or something else came up and I didn't do that thing, and so I'm behind.
It always takes longer to do things than I think.
Yeah, and so I've learned on the day by day how to manage that because I know in my planner, like, all right, that's too much on the day because I know where I'm really going to be at or not. Long term, though, as far as timelines, I think it's okay to have those timelines. It just, going back to what I think Archie said a long time ago, it does kind of suck having to readjust again. And so I'm a big fan of focusing when it comes to time and thinking about time. I'm a big fan of focusing on what can I get done on a day-to-day and focusing on creating a consistent schedule or a schedule that I can be consistent with daily. Maybe like, let's say like through the week, right? Like Monday might not look like a Wednesday, but like this week, can I have a consistent good week and repeat that and repeat that and repeat that? Because to think, okay, by this date, I want to have this, by this date, that, and it's kind of, I don't know, that kind of doesn't work for me to think in that way. I literally have to think about it day to day.
Same. I like Ashley said that SMART goals helped her to break down big goals to bite-sized pieces, which I really like. And I think that's important to break your goals down either like weekly, monthly, quarterly, and then steps to scale back because it's easy to show up every day, but sometimes it's overwhelming or even hard to think about what a 5-year goal plan might look like to get somewhere. So just making sure you can take those bite-sized pieces. I think that SMART goals and other goal setting forms are really good for that. And I challenge you to kind of figure out what works for you when it comes to those things.
And that also alludes to, and I know that also alludes to the difference between objectives and goals, and that I think you can decide for yourself what's considered long-term or short-term, but let's make sure we're differentiating the end goal versus the steps to get there. And I think that's the funnest part is that a lot of times, and you say you do this, like, okay, you have your goals and then you broke them down into what's the steps or what things you need to do. And I think that's the key is, okay, so now what are these objectives that I can be doing? So if I say, oh, I want to write a book, I need to have, am I doing 30 minutes of writing every day or once a week or whatever?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like as far as the actual task to do? So my goals aren't things to do. That's a to-do list. My goals are the, 50K a month, whatever. And now I'm looking at, okay, how much are my services? My objectives are, I need to sell 5 of these packages. I need to sell 2 of these packages.
Yeah.
I need to do 1 speaking engagement every month. Like, that's more of the objective that I can break down to and work with then.
So those are overarching goals you got, like objectives, and then you break them down into more specific goals to help you meet them?
No, I have the end goals of what I want to get to, and then I create objectives that get me there.
Oh, okay.
The objectives are the tasks, and more so the tasks to get there.
But the goal is the big overarching thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then those goals can change. So like, if I reach like, oh, I'm consistently making my 10K a month or 50K a month or whatever it is, then that's switching.
No, I like that. And like the girl, she's talking about how timelines, like it's also difficult for me, but you write down how long things actually take so you can kind of learn, but you're very intentional with your time. Like Lex had mentioned, her favorite app was Toggle to help like time track. And that was a big change for me because I didn't realize where I was spending my time. And it's like, well, no wonder none of these goals are getting done because I'm not
your current situation.
Exactly, because I'm not spending time how I should. And then Ashley was talking about readjusting stuff, prioritizing, and determining that if goals are set are something that has to be looked at from a new angle or something that can maybe be put off until something else. So always checking back in and figuring out and readjusting.
And one thing that Nana mentioned, procrastination, is that you do have to know yourself, because I'm also that person where I can set a deadline for Friday, and so I'm not going to do that whole until Friday morning, like if I know I could do it. So if you know yourself, then that's again where I more so focus on the day-to-day being consistent, not have this done by this time or do this by this time. It's every day I need to spend 20 minutes on the thing. You know what I mean? Like, so that's what I have to calculate, because I know I'm a procrastinator. And then I have to get into the habit of checking that off every day. So now the more consistent I am, the more that's just a regular part of what I'm doing.
No, I love that. So kind of thinking through the goal setting process, we talked about like rooting in your why, like thinking about what the life you want actually costs, and then how to break them down into bite-sized pieces. How do you think about present tense versus future tense in these? Because you have that in here, and I just kind of want to know.
So future tense, I remember reading that future tense, can you put this around for me? That future tense is always saying what you're working towards. And so it's almost like you're saying like you're always trying to get towards that and you're not getting it. And I was like, okay, cool, that makes sense. And so I started using more of present tense. So saying with my goals, it might be I'm consistently making 20K a month, something like that, as an example. Writing it that way instead of I will make this.
So it's like happening.
Yeah, you're saying, writing it as it's happening. I'm making this, because you're generating like feelings around it too. However, and this is where you got to kind of decide what works best for you, because like we said earlier, part of why I stopped doing that every day was because now I'm like, after so long, I was like, wait, I feel like a fraud because I don't have it. And I keep saying I'm doing this, and I'm like, but I'm not. Now I'm like, I'm not even working on that one. Like, that's not even what I'm really even putting that much effort towards. So like, what's really good? Like, what am I really needing to say? And it might be I need to more so focus on those. I'm about like those things to get to that. Like maybe it's the I'm creating courses that people love to buy or want to buy. You know what I mean? At a premium price. Maybe that's a better goal I could be writing, because now I'm focusing on. And so that's like, that could have been the objective, but really like it takes a long time to make these courses and stuff. So like I can even look at that as like, okay, maybe this is really more of the goal I want to be saying every day to get to the money thing or whatever. But like after a while, I started feeling like it was fake, because I'm writing like I have this, I'm doing this. And after a certain amount of time, it's not, you don't feel good about it. You feel like, why am I writing this?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
But also, I do like the present better than Like the one day I'm gonna do this, one day I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
as I
this.
say, in manifesting, it's always more important. It's always important to talk about things like they're happening, because if you're talking about them in the future, it's like, okay, well, why aren't they happening right now? So it's always important.
It's like
to do
finding
that.
a way to make sure you're not you could do that without lying to yourself, and I think that's a personal thing where you kind of find that line.
I also encourage y'all, whenever you're looking at like what the life you want really costs, to also actually go envision those things. So if you find this really dope townhome that you like love, and that's like where you want to live, go look at that home on an open house day. Like go test drive that car, go envision yourself in those things so you can actually see it, because there's so much power in putting energy and intention into the things that we care about.
I'm glad you said that, because I do think envisioning those goals is very important. I remember I used to always, when I would look at my success type goals, I'd always have the same exact vision in my head too. So that's why I'm like, I know one day it's gonna happen. Like I had this all white suit on, no shirt underneath. It was like boom, boom, like all white, like on the cover of the magazine, like bam. And so I'm like, yeah, I know that's gonna happen one day, because I kept seeing the same like same kind of look or same thing, like Essence, like Lex on the front. So I don't know what that's gonna be, but every time I see like a white suit somewhere, I like see something, or like now one of my clients makes suits, so I'm like, okay, bet. So I'm like, all right, I see it's gonna happen somehow. Like when I get that big break, I'm gonna be like, where's my white suit? But you gotta feel yourself doing it. You gotta see how that feels, and not only because that kind of gets your mindset in the right place, but because you may be working towards something again that you're like, oh, I don't actually really like. This doesn't really feel that awesome. Like, you might think you want this big house or whatever, and you're like, this is kind of whack. So you don't want to be fooling yourself either about like what you think you want.
Can I put you on the spot? I'm gonna do it anyways. Whether what she would have ever said. So we've talked about a lot of things. If you had to give a quick like elevator pitch on how to set goals, or like you're thinking through ways to do all of this, what would it be?
So like a synopsis on setting goals. My synopsis on setting goals would be, I'm going to pull from what you said though.
Okay.
In order to know where you want to go, you have to know where you are. So you have to understand your current situation, have a big enough why that propels you to work through obstacles and to work through tough times to get those things. And you have to have those things written out in a way that you have a timeline set for when you want to get that done, that you know the numbers involved of like what you want and what you need, and that you break those down into objectives and a plan that you can work on day to day consistently to get there.
I love that. And to throw that onto the day-to-day consistent part, to be intentional about how you set your time, and to be okay if you try all these SMART goals and it doesn't work for you, like to be so committed to yourself and to your goals and to your purpose that you're okay with like failing at this to-do list, but maybe doing the Mary Jane Post-it notes, like being Mary Jane Post-it notes works for you. And I think that is the hard part of goal setting, but also the beautiful part is I think it's very intuitive to whoever you are specifically, and whatever works in your life where you are.
Because even I am addicted to Post-it notes, but I used to use them more so for affirmations. And again, I got to a point where I was like, I looked at it one day and realized like, I don't really need this. And I stopped doing it. I took them down and I put them in one of my notebooks just so I still have them in there. But I think that's okay to do what works for you. But like sometimes that switches. So now what I do is like I'll put notes that I change every once in a while on my whiteboard, or just a thought that I want to remember that I'm working on right now. But it's not the same. Like I did get to a point also with the Post-its where looking at these Post-its that are like, you're the best, or be confident girl, or whatever, looking at them became a reminder that that's not what I am yet. And I felt like I was that. So I was like, I'm good on that. Like, I don't want to read these and be like, you will get what you want and you will this and that. Like, I am getting what I want. And so I kind of personally got to a place where I didn't want to see that reminder, because I felt like I was all right.
Yeah. And I mean, things change. And I think to be kind to yourself on the journey, like as things change and as things grow, but also be, real and transparent with yourself. Like I've been there with affirmations too. Like I don't believe that, but what that requires is me to actually figure out something.
Like, and I guess this could be up for debate, but I do kind of feel like if you have to look at a Post-it note that says, I'm confident, that I'm not confident.
And I would partially agree with that, but also I've been researching a lot of the science behind affirmations. And there is so much power into the words that we speak and the things that we see and the things that we expose ourselves to every day. And actually,
I mean, I'm not saying look at something that says like I'm trash, but
well, yeah, no, I know. But even having things that are positive affirmations around you, even if they're there and you might not, whatever, they actually do spark some activity in the brain. So I think it's double-sided, right? Like it doesn't do you as much if you don't actually believe these things, but there is a little bit of scientific information behind that does, at least it's something different and sparks your brain.
I absolutely do believe that what goes in is important, like what you're seeing and what you're consuming. And I think that, again, that was a me mindset thing where I'm like, to feel like I have to do this is a reminder that it's not, I don't know. And I just got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to do that anymore. But how many of you guys also have accountability partners? And when it comes to setting goals, that could be difficult because you have to be a little more vulnerable. And also because, as most of y'all, I'm sure y'all know, like you can't really tell everybody everything you're trying to work on and all your goals. You know, that's why we haven't even been like, what are your goals? Like that's her business. You know, that's y'all business unless y'all want to like throw y'all stuff out here. But I think it is good to, on some scale, whether it's those objectives beneath, you know, that's helping you get to the goal or whatever, to express that to people who care about you and who are in your circle.
Yeah.
And the people in your circle should be people that are pressing you in that direction and in a better direction, in the right direction.
Iron sharpens iron.
Yeah. So I think it is important to say, hey, I'm trying to get this website done. Because if you tell it to me, I'm gonna ask you every time I see you, which is funny because I don't be doing my own, but but I'm gonna ask you anytime I see you. If you tell me you're working on something or gonna do something,
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
So
that's why y'all be annoying her every time I talk to her. What's up on XXXYZ? But also that's with Lex. Like I make sure I do my biz dev development list and I make sure I tell her because she's gonna ask me about it, and that helps hold me accountable.
Yeah. Any last other things revisiting?
I think not getting too overwhelmed with the big term goals, or like the big goals, but also breaking them down to bite-sized objectives, like you were saying. I think that's really important because they can get overwhelming. It's still important to do those, but also to make sure that there are things you can do. And then, why you said thought about 5 things you asked me about. You right? I got a notes list in my phone that says righty at the top.
I have a note in my phone that says, "Get on these niggas about they real." And I was like, I don't even remember who said that to me. So I told Damo, damn, Damo gets a shout out every time. Shout out Damo. But I was like, Damo, did you tell me to write this down? Somebody told me to write that down. I'm like, dang, I didn't write down who said it. Exactly. But it has to be one of y'all. It said, stay on these niggas about they real. So every time I see them, I'm like, maybe it's you. Do you need to get your reel together? And they be like, yeah, I do. But yeah, I think that's important, man. You gotta keep people on their toes. You gotta keep them up and right.
You gotta take it day by day.
Ashley said, I tried earlier this year, and these folks were like, I don't have any financial goals, so I just kept them as my party friends.
Yeah.
Ooh, so that's interesting. That's a whole other episode, really, about friend groups and the like. I think it's all right to have your friends that you just party and do things with, but to me, quite frankly, that feels unfulfilling to have people around that I can't incorporate with the growth. And that changes, right? Like if I'm like, hey, I gotta finish this thing, or I'm working on a thing, and they're like, no, man, come out. Like, I'm not. Those aren't friends I tend to like really call friends. And I'm really picky about who I actually call my friend versus just like associates. So
100%.
For me,
because y'all have a responsibility. Friends are a responsibility for me. Like there's somebody I invest in that I believe in your goals. I'm trying to see you win. Yeah,
but I like to party with my friends who also get the other side of it too. So that's just me. Archie says, in many ways, this podcast is a form of accountability partner, hearing the process of y'all striving for your goals. Yep, I think that's true too. And with you all listening, like we always tell you guys to leave comments and, talk to us about whatever's going on. I've had some people who I've had calls with, from listening to the podcast. And so like, it's, it's cool to do stuff like that and to even outside of listening to the podcast to be accountable to each other.
I think mentors can help too. With Archie, like what Archie was saying, mentors are great with accountability, especially someone who's further ahead in whatever XYZ goal or field or whatever you're working towards. Sometimes that's very beneficial to help. And then also, Cherie's talking about having another Aries as our partner and it didn't work out.
Why are you trying to blame that on the zodiac, girl?
I'm just saying I'm a Sagittarius.
Said they both
What's
had
up?
issues following through. That's true. I have issues following through, but for some reason, if it's another person, like that's literally the only reason we haven't missed an episode of Carlie's Couch, because I have, I can't let Carlie down. So I'm like, all right. With my other one, we'd be like, we got stuff to do. Like, all right, cool. We skip a week.
God, I'm so hyped. We're on 44 episodes.
Yeah. So I think that for me, that's the only reason sometimes, like, and people that I work with now, they're like, all right, we know we have to set a date for you and we have to have a meeting, because like by the meeting, even if I do it 5 minutes before, I got to figure this out real quick before the meeting because I have to be accountable for it. So yeah.
And then it's important to revisit and reshape your goals as necessary to make sure that you're still on task, to make sure that it's still tied into your why, it's still in alignment, it's still something that you care about. And also to know if you need to change things, like being real with yourself. Like, I'm not following through on this. Okay, well, if this goal has been on my list for 2 years, why am I not following through? Is it even something I really want? Like, I need to do a major self-check because maybe it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we talked about that in the previous episode before. And there is scientifically something about writing your goals out versus even typing them versus just thinking about them. Write it out, because again, it's really like a feeling that comes with certain ones that you're like, oh, that ain't quite right, or ones you write confidently, like, yep, I know I want this, or I'm working towards this. And I feel like it's important to feel that, and I feel like it's important to write it just because it forces you to really define it. More than to just think like, yeah, I want a nice house and I want this and that, family, like, okay, cool, but
yeah, I challenge you to look deeply and figure out exactly what that looks like. It's super easy to be like, oh, I want to be successful, or oh, I want to have nice things, or oh, I want to have a great relationship and be super self-aware and love myself. But what does it take to get there? What is the cost to get there? And what does that look like in your life? Like measuring it down to bite-sized pieces. And it seems like the Yamps need to have a accountability group.
Right. What's Yamps mean?
Yamps, y'all want to tell her what Yamps are? I'm not a Yamps.
I mean, we got a whole other people listening too.
No, I know. I'm going to read it, but I'm going to let them define themselves. Actually, I think it's on Instagram. I'll find it, but.
Okay. So what we want, we'll figure out what Yamps means in a second, hopefully. But what we want to encourage you guys to do is, if you did do the goal challenge, that challenge you to think about what your goals are, why you have those goals, what numbers and things you can put to them, try writing them out every day. And if that's hard, that means you probably didn't really define them well, and you still need to define them, and it's okay if they change. And I think I'm going to try to do this too. Man, I got to refine my old notebook, because at least that's somewhere to start from. But try to write your goals down for a few days, see how it feels. And I guess you don't have to super like put all your business out there and like take a picture of the goals. Like I used to do it, I'd be writing. And certain ones I was like, oh, I don't want y'all to see that one. But
it's cool if you do it on time lapse.
Yeah. Or I used to like boomerang or whatever. But like, show us what you're working on. Show us that you're writing your goals out. And I wanted to kind of make like a double challenge for after the episode to be like, all right, how do you feel after you do that for like a couple weeks? But we're just gonna have to do the honor system and see if anybody wants to do that. I think I'm gonna try to start writing mine out again, but I really need to retighten them up. Because we really, man, it's so crazy how you feel like you think you know what you want, and it really just keep changing. Like mine might be totally different a little bit, but I can see. And honestly, it's hard for me to see 5 years. Like, it really is hard for me to see that.
Me too.
But it's easy for me to see a year. And it's so interesting, though. It's hard to see 5 years. Like, oh, where do you see yourself 5 years? And yet, if you look back 5 years ago, it's like, shit, what have I done in these last 5 years? Like, it feels like the time also goes so fast. And that's why it's so important. Because to have inconsistent days turns into inconsistent weeks and months and years of you being in the same exact spot. And so it's important to at least be telling yourself what you need to be doing. And then the next thing is the structuring of that and the following through. And I guess I can't really tell you how to follow through outside of what can you do a little bit of each week, or maybe every day, but like, even if it's just each week, like for me, even with the writing, like I'm a good writer, but I just don't, it's something I have to mentally get over to sit down and do. And so instead of being like, I'm gonna write 30 minutes every day, I have one day every week that I sit down like, all right, I'm gonna spend this hour and I'm gonna do some writing. And so that's what's gonna work for me for right now. And then usually like 3 hours. So like, okay, cool. It's just a matter of getting started. But, you know, do figure out what that needs to be consistently for you.
And I do challenge y'all actually to write and to post and tag us. I'm going to also challenge myself to do that and to post of me writing down my goals, because it's not something that I've tried, and I think it'll help me hold myself accountable. And then the Yams came in with the definition off of Poetic Justice, said it's a young tramp. But we really just out here growing and living and working and loving. And then also that they're going to try to write and tighten up their goals. Righty says she's trying to figure out what she needs in this stage of life. Like, everything has changed and she doesn't know what's important. And I feel like that happens when there's big shifts in life or just a new season in life, like different things happening. And it's important to recheck in with yourself and figure out what that means. Like, even if you don't know, maybe you do know one goal in one area of your life. Maybe it's a health goal and you're still trying to figure out this, or maybe it's a money goal, but you're still trying to figure out careers. Just narrowing down on what you do know.
And that's really the most important part, is what's important to you. Because doesn't that feel so lost? Because I've been feeling like that, where it's like, I don't really know what's important to me right now. Like, what do I care about? And I remember actually taking time. I have a million whiteboards. I took one of my whiteboards and I just wrote what I cared about, honestly. And a lot of that was like social injustice against people, or, you know, more authenticity in the way people use social, and like a bunch of different things, right? I just wrote like things I care about. Creating like the art I want to create, whatever. And I didn't think too hard about it. I wrote it all down. And then I looked at my work and saw, oh, like that reflects in when I do this. This reflects in when I do this. So I felt better about what I was doing, because it was more aligned than I thought already. I felt like I was like lost out here. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do and what was important, but it was more aligned. And now I really had just defined my why a little bit better, or like why this is important for me to be doing these things, and I just hadn't connected it that way. And so sometimes it's just kind of connecting that dot, and you may not be off, or you may be way off. Like, yo, none of this reflects anything I care about. And in that case, now you have to figure out what will.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say that's a big self-check. It always comes down to the why for me. Like, my purpose and alignment is big, and I think I probably say those two words every single episode. But checking in, and I think it might start with a mind map of what's important to you. Like, and it doesn't have to be specifically related to career or work, but maybe it's art, maybe it's people of color, maybe it's writing, whatever those things are, and then seeing how that translates into your life. And if it doesn't, doing a self-check and seeing how it can, and just kind of checking in with yourself. So I think if you're like completely lost and don't know where to start, starting with what you're really passionate about and what you care about is a great place.
Okay. I don't want to turn this to a whole nother thing, but actually, so I've gotten away actually from the whole finding your passion and then from there doing everything else. I do agree with the second part. What did you say? Your why, the passion and your why.
My purpose and alignment.
Purpose, yeah. So that, okay. But also, I've kind of grown to realize that people don't know what their passion is either, and so it's like, to tell somebody, well, find your passion and work off that, that's not helpful either a lot of times.
But what things do you care about? You don't know what you care about?
Some people don't know what they care about. And so that's the thing, is like, even that, all that mind map about what you care about and paying attention to what you do and what makes you feel good. Like, I think we kind of take for granted that everybody knows that. Or depending on where you are in life, like, let's say if you're like in college and it's like, everybody's like, find your passion and do that as a career. Do your passion. What's your passion? Like, you've been in school just all your life, and so a lot of people are lucky to have done stuff, to travel or whatever else.
Yeah.
But you don't always know like what that passion is. And so even beyond that is just to always be doing stuff, like just always be moving, trying things. You don't know if you care about, you know, film or whatever until you pick up a camera and you're like, oh, I kind of actually fuck with this. But again, you also have to know what things are really things you want to do and what things are just like, hey, this could be a fun hobby.
But
like,
I don't think you know until you start doing it.
Right. So it's just always kind of being open to doing things. But if you know what you love, then you know what you love. For those who are at a space where you're not sure even what any of that is, that's fine. Like, at whatever age, that's fine. And it takes effort to figure that out, I think. Because even if I thought I knew all this time, oh, I love culture, I love travel, I love this and that, there's a lot of things I'm realizing now, like, I really, really enjoy and like, that still kind of tie in. But, you know, I'm always tightening it up by exposing myself to more things.
And I think that, so it doesn't, and I didn't mean to come off like, oh, you have to know all your passions and purposes, but you write down shit that you like. But you write down shit that you like. I'm a foodie. Okay, well, maybe you go travel and explore and go look at restaurants, or maybe I want to try skateboarding. Pick up a skateboard, try that thing. See if it's something that you actually like. and then go from there. Like, I think life is very hands-on, and we can spend a lot of time in the lab trying to make shit pop, but you actually have to get out there and try it. And that's how you know what you're passionate about. I think whenever you start moving forward, it's like an alchemist, like the whole universe conspires together to help you achieve your personal legend. Like, whenever you just start moving, like, even if you think it's one thing, but you start moving, life will direct. Like, I wholeheartedly
And
believe
paying
life will
attention,
direct
yeah.
your steps if you're
So
paying
yeah,
attention.
even if you have goals, you don't have to be so firmly attached to these outcomes. You can still pay attention presently to how you feel, what's happening. Well, I'm kind of being led towards this. That's cool. Like, go towards it. And so you use these goals just to ensure that you are moving forward towards something, and you're not. It's so easy for every day to start looking exactly the same. It's so easy, and then you're just like, it was cool to say you had these goals, or it's cool to say I wanted this and that, but you never really did anything towards it. Um, and so with this episode, hopefully it kind of gave a little bit of ideas, or even just started some discussion to help you figure out where you are in all of this process, and where you can kind of focus and kind of figure out. Maybe for some of you it's, well, shoot, I need to figure out my why. For some of you, maybe it's, well, what's the numbers I need to put with this?
Yeah.
For some of you, it's like, I didn't think about none of this, and that's fine too. So again, we'd love for you to take all of this, let us know how it's impacted you, / if it's impacted you. As always, leave us reviews and ratings. Y'all probably already have, because y'all loyal over here on the live episode, first live episode.
Shout out to y'all.
And just show us what you got. Like, show us what you're writing. I think I'm going to try to bring it back out if I get my stuff together. But this whole episode was just kind of a conversation around setting goals, and it's interesting, and we thought this would be a good one to do live, because you guys' feedback and where you are is like, hey, yeah, we kind of all resonate with a lot of these same things. So I think that's important to understand also, that we're all kind of trying to figure these things out.
And that you're not alone. That's what I was about to say. So I love synchronicity, because I was going to say you're not alone in not knowing how to follow through, or maybe not being clear on goals, or not knowing how to readjust and readjust as life throws stuff at you. So staying encouraged on your path, being kind to yourself, and giving yourself the time and space to revisit, reshape, reassess, and move forward, as long as you're taking action.
Yeah, so we are going to do our shout out. Carlie has a shout out for today.
I do.
And I'm going to ask the question of the week that I have. And when I do ask the question, I'm just saying it now because I know you guys have a little bit of a lag. I want you guys to put your answers up there if you have one, while we're answering as well. So shout out first, Carlie.
Okay, so the shout out of the week is the Breakfast Bros. And actually, J.R. Corpening was on. He's one of the bros from OU, but he lives in Houston. And him, Murph, who's also a bruh, Ruth, Gerald, and Xavier. I don't know if it's Gerald or Gerald, sorry. They all went to junior high and high school together. They call themselves the Breakfast Bros, and they serve food to homeless people once a month. And so if you're in Houston and you want to help, if you want to donate, if you want to come serve with them, it's once a month. If you want to give clothing, anything like that, contact JR at j.corpening. So j.corpening 5 at Gmail. It'll be in the episode notes. But shout out to the Breakfast Bros. They started in November, and they've been averaging about 200 to 250 tacos a month, and have been giving out donations of clothing, shoes, hats, bedding, toiletries, anything. And every time I see them on the group me, like putting stuff like, hey, y'all in Houston, come through. We doing it this week, and so, or this month. And so I messaged him this morning. Maybe. He's on the thing. But yeah, so shout out to the Breakfast Bros. Y'all are doing awesome stuff. Yeah, he said what's up earlier.
Oh, well, look, I didn't know. I don't know who people are yet.
Oh yeah.
I don't know who your people are. That's cool.
Not yet.
Question of the week, Carlie.
Oh Lord.
And those listening.
Yeah.
What is a goal that you are proud to have accomplished? A goal that you crossed off?
Ooh. What is a goal that I'm proud to have accomplished and crossed off? There's something, but then I like that.
I can kind of answer. I'm trying to remember. There is one that I had. This is a more of like a mentally one. But I had a goal, and forgive me, this is not exactly what it was, but it was something like, I am only in relationships where, with love, trust, kindness, and respect, where I'm putting myself first and not feeling like I am the thing about being in healthy relationships where I'm putting myself first and it works. Like it's not like we're like up and down with something. And for me, one of the biggest things, like in the last year, I've been able to totally cross that off because I've really gotten way better at not bending for other people that I care for or respect, or even in a friend relationship, whatever. In this case, it was like a relationship type thing. But I was being such a people pleaser and bending, and I really have gotten to a point now, and I get to talk to these same people. It's totally different. I feel so much more liberated because I'm only doing what I want to do, and I'm only doing things that put me first, and then them next, or for the us after the me, making sure I'm good. And now here's the us. I've been really good about that, almost surprisingly. To like, that's one of the things you never feel like you're ever gonna change or do.
And especially with those special people that we talk about, those special people.
Yeah, there's always people who seem to like pull you back in, and it is somebody who like I used to be with back in the day. But like we're cool now, but it's totally different. It feels totally different, and I like that, and I see the growth in it, and I see how the whole thing is so much more better because just like we talked about scarcity earlier, I'm not like saying stuff out of fear, like, oh, I might say this, or oh, I might not answer, or whatever. I just do what I want, and the rest of it, because it doesn't matter, I never feel any kind of way.
Yeah, and that's the whole difference.
I really don't feel any kind of way, and
because you're doing what you want.
And I guess they've grown in that they haven't done anything to make me feel any kind of way either. So it's like when you step up and be like, well, this is what I need, or this is what I want, or this is what I'm gonna do. I give them space to meet me there, and they actually meet you there. When you're always going towards them, I filling in the space, they can't meet you in the middle.
I love that, and I think that that's so big.
That's a whole other episode too, y'all.
Ooh, child, that's gonna be 2 episodes, but that's something I haven't said out loud, but something I've very much been working towards in my relationships, and I'm proud that I'm growing in that too. But big ups for you because that's I think one of the hardest things. I think that that's one of the hardest things to do, and that's a lot of mindset. That's a lot of trauma. That's a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, that's a couple episodes, so that's beautiful. But that also spurred mine. I committed to myself that I'm going to create a life that I love.
That sounds so broad, though.
But it doesn't matter if it's something that I'm proud of and excited for.
And I don't say that to diminish what you said, but is that the goal? Create a life you're proud of?
A life that I love.
Life that you love.
A life that I love inside and out. Something that feels good to me, that I don't feel, kind of how you were talking about, like feel a type of way because this person you're trying to fill space, or being a people pleaser. Like I'm doing everything because it's how I want to do it. I'm showing up for myself every day because it's how I want to show up. And my whole life, genuine, my whole life has changed when I think about like where I used to be. And I mean, I've always been a genuinely like happy person, but like it's how I'm loving on myself and confidently moving forward in what I want to do. And like,
you feel like you're a happier person
now? I mean, I've always been happy, but like I'm like next level
happy.
Weird
because now that I think about it that way, even though I've done a lot of things, I don't necessarily feel any different. Sometimes you know how like the more you know, the more burdened you kind of feel. Sometimes I feel more like that than
certain things.
Than happy. Like the more I learn about stuff, the more I'm like, it feels like more pressure sometimes than feeling happier.
I think it can, but I think I'm happier because of how I'm using my energy and how intentionally I'm moving with everything, with every relationship, with every thought, with how I treat myself, with my health, with my mindset, just everything. I'm so intentional about me and my purpose. It just feels so damn good.
He says, I have a goal to read at least 1 book a month. On track so far since January. Oh, Keisha out here bettering herself and her life.
Girl.
Drop the book list there.
I know, that's what I was about to say.
So you could be having a reading club this whole time.
It's your life, Keisha.
That's a messed up thing. How people like took her positive goal and was like roast.
And then slap Carlie's couch on the top. Here's our book list.
Right.
Just kidding.
Yeah, Earl, go ahead, give us the book list so we can put our name on it. Thank you.
But
some credit.
So for you all, does anybody have it? First of all, shout out to Nina. That's amazing. Especially being an entrepreneur and doing that, child. That's a whole other thing. But does anybody else have any other goals that they're proud of?
Or any other questions or anything like that?
We appreciate y'all for tuning in and for staying on. As we wait for the live, see if anything else pops up.
I'm doing ASMR.
Hey.
She said LOL on the back. Don't throw that LOL on there. You better mean that.
God, but I
I said I wanted a new job and got it. Archie says, major moves there. Can you run back that relationship goal you met? Listen, you're going to have to listen to the podcast again, bro, because I don't even know what I said at this point. But I felt it when I said it, and it was real.
Just know we're going to have a whole episode or two on it because it's
right.
so real.
Yeah. That's true. Okay.
Ooh, and Atomic Habits apparently was a great read. Thank you, Keisha, for that.
What habits?
Atomic Habits. I've seen the cover, but now once I see books, it has to be 2 or 3 times. Then I'll read them.
Yeah, and then sometimes, people are in different spaces. So sometimes that's why I have to go to Barnes and Nobles. I got to go to the barn and do I really? I don't really need it. I don't really like this stuff. I don't need this. Or sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, this is real good. So it kind of depends. You got to do your own thing. But I know if Earl likes it, I like it. Really? Hold on. We'll get back to you, Nate, in a second. Ashley, I got my job. I bought my place ahead of schedule, and I said a whole thing for finances. Yes. Let me borrow $10.
I just need 2.
Phoebe said, thanks, ladies. Congrats, Ash.
Thanks, Phoebe.
Happy birthday to ya. Happy birthday to ya. I'm not going to mic up. We got champagne for you, Nate. Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy birthday. I don't know how old you are, but
shout out to you.
Hope you have a great day. And hope all of you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining us.
Write your goals.
You got the raw version of the podcast by participating on the Wednesday night that we do it live. I think, Carlie and I have been thinking about events and things we can do in person and workshops and stuff like that. No empowerment brunch. Not doing nothing like that. So don't get it twisted. But doing our thing in different places. And, sometimes it's like, all right, what can we do now that's easy where we are? Let's just start doing stuff that involves people. And so doing a live episode was the first step towards that. So, move in that direction. And I think we're going to try to do some specific leveling up episodes that are actionable, maybe every so often. So if you enjoyed it, we appreciate that. We are coming I said we are coming to DC. I'm going to DC. I'm going to DC.
We will come to DC at some point.
Thanks, Whitey.
Thanks, Whitey. We will definitely be going to the Triple D too.
Okay. Hey, look, I'm volunteering her. She volunteering me. Whatever.
Yep. She already know what's up.
Listen, I got the Southwest Connect. Shout out my friend. I ain't gonna tell y'all her name because y'all might try to use her.
Hope you don't listen to the pod.
This is getting edited out. Again, y'all get the raw version. That's why I said all that. Y'all get the raw version, but I know listening to all of this extra is not gonna sound right on the on the real one on Monday. And so the one on Monday will be a little bit more polished. It'll be a little more work for me. But yeah, I just know her Instagram name. So shout out to people who there for you. For your girl.
And shout out to y'all for tuning in. I really do appreciate you. I know I for sure hit up all my groupies was like, hey, tune in, y'all. So I really appreciate it.
I was like, Carlie has supportive friends.
Triple D, baby.
Thank you guys. We are out and we appreciate you guys. And to everybody listening to this episode on this beautiful Monday morning after the live episode recording, thanks for listening this long. We appreciate you for tuning in. Don't forget to tune in to the next live so you can chat with us and be a part of the conversation as well.
Questions, comments, feedback, hit us up.
We love it.
CC Fierce, Lextopia, Carlie's Couch.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.